All right, this is the CSI implementation for Kubernetes group. First meeting of 2018. Today is January 2nd, and we're gonna roll off things for the first quarter of 2018, do some planning and figure out what we want to do this quarter. I'm going to share my screen and we can go from there. All right, so first on the agenda, an update. The CNCF CLA has been set up for Kubernetes CSI. When we left off last month, there was some question about, we kind of created this repository on our own. It doesn't necessarily have the blessings of the CNCF. And there could be trouble around CLA and things like that. I reached out to the architecture SIG. Their recommendation was to put the CNCF CLA on there immediately. We did that, and that's set up, so we're good from that end. I'll continue to follow up with them to see if there's somewhere else that they want to move it, but for now, I think we're okay where it is for now. Sorry, go ahead.
That's it. Awesome.
Cool. Next up, we could probably just jump to the status updates, Luis, and then come back to planning.
Sure.
So go ahead.
Sorry, the E2E test PR is still pending.
Okay, so this needs to be reviewed and merged.
So once it is merged, I need to then enable it in the CI test.
Okay.
So. Yep.
Cool.
Then, yeah, go ahead, check it out.
Okay. I'll take a look at it afterwards.
Sure. Next thing is the CSI Sanity. Actually, before we go discuss this one, this whole package, CSI test repo, is not dependent on Kubernetes at all.
Okay.
It's a CSI specific thing. So maybe in the future we could talk about moving it to CSI, whatever project that is. But just letting you know. CSI Sanity is a program. I'll let you type that first.
Okay, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, so CSI Sanity, what it is just an enabler of the package called Sanity in CSI test. And the package called Sanity is just a bunch of what is that called? Ginkgo style tests. So, and so that code will never change because all it does is just say test and that's it, right? Test on the endpoint. So this is just pretty much as much code as it's going to be. But the Sanity package, which is on the top, it says above that. It says command line program that tests CSI drivers is using the Sanity package. Okay, and then here's where we are at the code. So here I put a status there saying identity service is about 95% done, and controller and service node service. So, and this really, I try to make it as simple as possible to add tests, see what's happening, and to use it. So you can check out identity server, and then you can see it's just simple Ginkgo style stuff before and after stuff. It's nothing to it. No special magic or anything like that here.
Very nice.
But yeah. So what I wanted to talk about was, looks to me like in this, at least in the next 4 weeks, this is something that I will be working on, and hopefully I'll bring somebody else from Portworx to work on it. But what I would really like to see is that if we could ask another community member from somewhere else, not
Mhm.
Portworx, to help me with this, because then that way it's more community centric. So if you know anyone in SIG storage or in Google that want to help, that would be more
I think we
happy.
can reach out to SIG Storage and find some volunteers.
Yeah, that'll
So
be
what I
great.
plan to do is we have the meeting for SIG Storage this Thursday. We're
Yeah,
going to use that as a planning session for the SIG. And
yeah,
during that meeting, I plan to ask for volunteers to help out on the CSI project. I
okay.
know a lot of folks from Red Hat may not be able to help out this quarter. So
Hmm.
we're going to need people not just for this, but for the rest of the work that we have planned. And
Absolutely.
the plan would be, let's figure out everything that we need to do before Thursday. We go Thursday to the SIG and we say, who wants to volunteer, get a group of folks, and then we can have our meeting on Friday and start assigning tasks. So this could be one of the tasks, and we can get hopefully somebody from the community to work on it.
Awesome.
Okay, cool. So anything else you wanted to add?
No, those are the only two status changes that I have.
Cool. That looks very impressive. I think it's the start of what could eventually become a certification suite. I like that you call it sanity to prevent politics.
Yeah,
Um,
exactly.
so this is great. And then we'll see where this goes and let it evolve naturally. And if it becomes useful, then hopefully we can port it to the CSI repo.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you.
Cool. Now on to what we're going to be doing for 2018. So last meeting we had December 15th, we created a very large list of items that we wanted to work on for beta. That is here. Let me copy that up to the top. So I guess the first question is, who is able to invest their time this quarter in CSI? Luis, are you able to?
Yeah, I'm going to probably have about the same amount of time as I did before, which is about 50% of my time.
Okay.
So luckily, hopefully I will bring somebody else too. That's my goal. I'll let you know by this Friday if I can bring somebody else.
Okay.
Hey guys.
Hey, Brad.
Computer.
Hey, Brett.
Hey, no problem. How are you doing? Happy New Year.
Good. Yeah, it was good. This is the first meeting y'all have had, or have you been talking throughout the holiday too?
No, this is the first meeting. Our last meeting was December 15th. We took the holidays off, and now we're getting back together and figuring out what we're going to do this quarter.
Okay.
So you came in at the right time. Next steps are going to be figuring out who from our old group can commit to working on this project for this quarter. Then we're going to review the items that we want to tackle and figure out what we want to cut. And then we can go to the storage SIG on Thursday morning where there's going to be a planning session for the SIG in general and ask for volunteers to work on CSI. And then on Friday, we can do assignments from the new people that we're able to pull in. So that hopefully we'll be able to get enough people to tackle all the items that we have. So from your team, Brad, I think you mentioned when we left off that possibly you guys were not going to be able to commit this quarter or commit only for part of the quarter. Do you have any updates?
Yeah, we have a couple bugs that we need to deal with and some tech debt.
Okay.
Pay down. So I can't commit to, I can't commit the team to too much, but we can, help out a little bit.
Okay.
I know you won't have Jan or Waman full time. They will be, maybe a couple hours a week or something like that.
Maybe enough for reviews, maybe?
Yeah, yep. They can do reviews for sure.
Okay, maybe we'll just ask for that.
Yep. Okay. And that sounds good. Any chance we could pull in some other folks from Red Hat at all?
Maybe I can talk to Aaron.
What's the work you want to do?
So the work that we have here I just pulled in the list that we had at the end of the last meeting. We can start going through this and itemizing it. Maybe we should sort this.
Yeah.
P0.
Or at least make them colored so
Yeah.
easy to see.
That's P0, that's P1, nothing like bubble sort. P2, not doing.
You know, organizing them by alphabetical also.
I'll leave that to you. Oops. All right. So I think this is going to be the big chunk of the work that we need to do that needs to go into Kubernetes. It's going to have to align with the Kubernetes release schedule. First item here is mount device. If CSI itself implements mount device, we need to implement it. This we need to carry on the discussion in the CSI group and see if they're willing to take this into CSI. If not, there's not much that we can do. So it's possibly that there's going to be no work here. If there is something to do, it's just a matter of taking what is currently a no-op call and making it a real call. So not too much work. Move mount propagation to beta, I think. So Brad, is this something that Jan can commit to for this quarter? I don't think it'll be too much work. I think it's just a matter of marking the correct APIs.
Well, I'm working. You know, I'll have to ask him what's left to,
Yeah.
do. It was a pretty big drag to get this to alpha, just
Yep.
because you go to 3 or 4 different SIGs and they kept kicking it back out, kicking it back out.
Yeah, I think the nice thing now is that like the design has more or less been clarified, and there's not too much debate on it since it went in, and we're starting to use it, and it's working the way we want it. So I think moving to beta should be a lot easier.
Yeah, he should be able to, but I don't want to. I want to talk to him first. He has to come back from vacation.
Okay. So yeah, that makes sense. We'll follow up on that later then. Third item is block device support in CSI. I don't know how much work this may or may not involve. I know the CSI currently already supports block devices. So technically it should just be a matter of setting up the plumbing correctly and testing it. But what this would mean is implementing the correct mount calls and everything on the Kubernetes side to make sure we're calling the correct CSI calls. So that could be a significant amount of work. Next up.
I would ask that to the team that's doing the block device support right now. I think it's Aaron and
Yeah,
the
that'd
person
be
from
great if we
Hitachi,
could pull somebody in.
right?
Yeah.
What's the guy's name from Hitachi?
It starts with an M.
Yeah, but him.
Yeah, that would be great. Next item is making volume attributes first class. I think this should be fairly easy to do. It's just work, but probably take one developer a week or something. Node authorizer limit volume attachment access from kubelet. So this is an ask from Jordan Liggett and the security folks to make sure that the volume attachment objects are limited similar to other non-namespaced objects like persistent volumes. So this is a decent project, probably at least another week for a developer. Deploying external components to GCR.io. I'll have somebody on my team take care of that. Topology. This is a big one. With also similar to mount device, needs to have changes going to CSI first, and then have the Kubernetes side of things plumb things through correctly. This could be possibly very simple or very complicated depending on what we want to do with it. It needs to be scoped, which it currently is not. I think right now it's we want to do this, but we haven't decided how much of, like, what exactly the end goal is. It's a significant project. So the interesting thing now is going to be that folks who are going to get assigned to these projects are going to be working essentially at multiple layers. They're going to have to work in the CSI group in order to drive the changes, and then make the changes in the Kubernetes side, and then all the associated external components that we're developing. It's not just all in one code base. CSI credentials, same issue. We're going to have to drive changes in the CSI spec. The reason we didn't adopt it is because there were problems with the existing proposal. So we'd have to fix that on the CSI side of things, and then pick up the changes on. While I'm going through this, it might be a good idea to mark these so that we don't forget. Maybe separate them out.
Yeah. Sometimes I'm concerned that the ones that require CSI changes may not be able to be done for 110.
Yeah, that's what I'm concerned about as well. And maybe we can separate them out and get them front loaded. Hopefully, if we make it, we make it. If we don't, then we can't call it beta. We'll have to make that call at some point.
I think that's probably what's going to have to happen. I'm guessing, too, that when people start using it, we may get a few bucks. But
yeah.
So it will be okay with me to have 110 still be alpha for CSI.
Yeah. I think that may well be where we are. I think we'll call it a stretch goal to hit beta, and if we don't, then we keep it as alpha.
Yep.
Registration of socket with kubelet device plugin mechanism. This requires coordinating with folks on that are working on the device plugin stuff, the GPU stuff, to come up with a standard mechanism for registering sockets with kubelet and making sure that we adopt that. So again, significant project.
Could you add that to as a sub-bullet of that?
Yeah.
Because that way the person that looks at this, it's not really leading, it's just participating as a team.
Yeah. Next up is understanding the design to handle ephemeral, design to handle ephemeral volume. So this is kind of just a sanity check exercise. Go in, look at what we have for CSI and see if it'll work for ephemeral volumes. There's been an ask from the security team to see if they can use CSI for things like encrypting identity. And we want to make sure that we're not making any design decisions before we go to beta that will prevent them from being able to be used like that. So this would require someone to sit down, understand what the use case is, and see if it works and see if there's any blockers. Next up, end-to-end testing for drivers, which we started with your Sanity project, as well as the end-to-end tests that you introduced that need to be merged, where you need to continue to expand on that. Next up is bypassing attach for CSI so that we don't support attach. I would be okay dropping this at this point. So currently what happens is that if a CSI driver doesn't support attach, meaning it doesn't support controller publish, Kubernetes is unaware of that. It still calls the attach on the Kubernetes side of things, and the attach will create a volume attachment object, and we expect some component to respond to that. So we expect an external attacher to be running that will essentially no-op it.
I think it's fine.
It's ugly. I'd like to get rid of it. I don't have any good ideas on how to get rid of that. But if there's an item that we can drop, I'd drop this first.
Because you can even release it as production level with this. I mean, this is it does cost us nothing. Now we can say like in 1.1, we now remove the
external attacher. Yeah, I'd buy that argument. It's a little bit of a hurdle, and like if somebody wants to deploy a CSI driver and they don't support attach at all, they're forced to deploy this external no-op external attacher, which is a little ugly, but not the end of the world.
I think we just need to make sure that we documented it in the wiki to make sure we say, look, even if you don't support attachment, you need to deploy it so that it handles the volume attachment object. That's it.
Yeah.
Everybody will be okay with that.
Next up, see if we can change Kubernetes, allow privilege flag to true by default. I think Jan and Chakri were hoping to follow up on this. If we can get this done, that'd be great. If not, it'll be a little bit of a hassle for folks trying to deploy on Kubernetes.
Is that even possible for us to do? I mean, that's a deployer thing, right? I mean, that's like getting CoreOS and Kubernetes GKE.
Yeah, I think we have some of the deployment scripts in the Kubernetes core repo. So if we could flip the defaults there and the folks who own those deployments are okay with it, then we're good.
Okay.
I know on the GKE side, we already do this, so it's not an issue. But for others, it's not set to allow privilege by default.
Yeah, I'm not sure even CoreOS uses those scripts, or Red Hat's OpenShift. They use Ansible. So
yeah, and part of it might be that we don't change these defaults, and for folks who haven't changed this, they're going to start realizing that they have this pain and they're going to have to change it on their own. And hopefully they'll change the defaults. So
yeah.
P2 is fine here.
I think so.
Block device support must go to beta. This is a dependency of this guy. We should actually put those together.
Wait, so we don't have it yet. Not even alpha, but they want it. We want to say that it needs to go to beta. This is beta.
So block device support was in alpha as of 1.9. So I don't know if how closely we want to tie to the alpha and beta of the actual block device support.
Is this CSI block volume? I didn't think we supported that at all.
CSI does support block. CSI currently doesn't. Like our implementation doesn't. Our alpha implementation didn't do block at all. But CSI itself supports the spec supports block, and then Kubernetes has alpha support for block. So this item here is basically wiring that together.
Well, we need to get CSI or block support in Kubernetes CSI as alpha first, and then we need to move Kubernetes CSI block support to beta.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah. So this would be as alpha. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yep.
I think that the P2 under it, it's a how you say it's a mute point. I mean, so I think once we finish P0,
I guess my question is, should that be
a blocker for beta?
Yeah, dependency at all, or
no? I don't think so.
Independent.
Yeah, I think it's a dependency on the block support, but right now, I don't think so.
Okay, that makes sense. Then I'll just move. Sorry, go ahead.
I was just gonna say that's just my opinion.
Okay, I agree. I don't have any strong opinions on that.
I said P0 there. P1s. Oh, this is for external stuff. There we go.
Yeah. So external stuff, we can sort through these real quick. So our P0 there is the unit test framework.
That's what I'm working on.
Yep. P1s are automated build system for sidecar containers. CSI driver should not have dependencies on Kubernetes, which I think Chakri already started working on, and adding strict validation code in CSI common for CSI drivers, which is the sanity check stuff that you're already working on as well. So I think we have the ball rolling on most of this stuff. It just needs to
And
continue.
the Cyca, sorry to interrupt you.
No, go ahead.
The Cyca container stuff, I know that's mainly Brad and Jan, but I can work on that if they want me to. That takes nothing. That's like a day of work.
The setting up the automated build system?
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be great. And then you have the CSI spec changes. We have snapshots, topology. There should be a couple others here. Mount device. And what was the other one here? Topology, CSI credentials. So these are changes we need to help drive
That's a big one.
CSI spec, yeah. I'd say this is P0. Mount device is like a P1 or maybe even P2. Topology is P1, snapshots P3.
Yeah. And just knowing the CSI team credentials is going to take a long time to figure out.
Yeah, yeah. And then we have bugs that we need to fix in the external components and passing in the FS group to CSI driver, which we don't currently do. I think there's also passing in what's it called? The supplemental. Actually, we don't pass in the FS type either. I think it's currently hard-coded to ext4. That needs to be fixed. That should actually be a...
That's a Kubernetes. What?
Yeah, that's like that's a real item. So realistically, I think what needs to happen next is we're going to have our meeting on Thursday where we're going to try to recruit folks to help out. And depending on how much help we can get, we'll have to decide whether we can reasonably go to even consider beta as a stretch goal or not. If we have enough folks working on it, then we can consider it a stretch goal. Otherwise, we're going to say it's going to be an alpha for Q1, and then we're going to go to beta in Q2.
Is there a demo that could be shown at the meeting? I mean, that might jazz people up.
That is a very good idea. That's a really, really good idea. Luis, you have a demo, don't you?
I have E2E. Yes, I can use that.
Yeah, would you be willing
Absolutely.
to? Awesome. That is a really good idea. Let's do that. I'll add it to the agenda doc while.
I have to make sure it works. But yeah, I got it. No problem.
Cool.
I use GCC.
So second question is, you think 5 minutes is enough or 10 minutes?
I would say 10 minutes because probably 5 minutes and there's going to be a lot of questions. 5 to 8 minutes. It could be really fast or a long time. It all depends on the questions. I'll have like just 1 or 2 slides too, just to say, here's documentation, here's what these things are.
Yeah, that'd be great. So then the question is, we have this giant list of items that we need to get done. Should I add them directly to the planning spreadsheet for the SIG, or should we just have one? What's that?
I would. Oh, sorry, Brett, did you say something? Yeah.
Sorry.
I would do planning for this separately. It's too much.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I would
That's
completely agree with that.
Last time it worked well. We had one tracking item for CSI, and then we tracked the individual items separately. I think that worked well for us. We can continue to do that, and we'll continue to.
If we have like stuff that's grouped, I mean, if there's some stuff on here that probably take like 1 or 2 people working on.
Yeah.
We could add like groups, teams of people working on this stuff too, right? Because that's what I'm kind of afraid of is like everything on this sheet is probably more than like one person can take on by themselves.
Yeah.
It would probably be best to be broken down.
I agree. But one thing I do want on this sheet is a person I can probe to say, what is the status of this? Like the lead. Maybe we should change that this quarter. Let's do that. So instead of calling it owner, let's call it lead. And then we don't need to itemize everybody who's working on it, but the lead is the person who's going to be responsible.
Yeah. For status. Yeah, you got it. Yeah, and I was just going to suggest that let's keep it as is right now until we find the people that who's going to volunteer, and then we can say this is the work items that are going to be scoped for this quarter.
Okay.
If not, then we can run out of scope.
That seems reasonable to me. All right, cool. Is there anything else we want to talk about? It sounds like the next steps are going to be go to the Thursday meeting, try to rally up support for the project, get some new volunteers, and then on Friday we can reconvene and do assignments based on the new volunteers, and then we can figure out whether we can even attempt to hit beta this quarter or not, and then that's it.
Yeah.
All right, cool.
Perfect. Are we meeting tomorrow too?
Officially, I have a meeting scheduled. I don't think there is a need for it at this point, so maybe I'll just cancel that if you guys are okay with it, and then we'll meet on Friday.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's perfect.
Sounds good to me. All right, and Brad, feel free to start adding items to the planning sheet other than CSI stuff. I got it started by just copying over the items that we had from the 1.9 release.
Okay.
And I left the original assignees on there so it's quick and easy to figure out who the last person was who touched it. But those are not assignments yet. They're just like, this was the last person who kind of touched it.
I got you. Okay.
And that's pretty much it.
All right. I'll see you on Thursday then.
All right, guys. Take care.
All right. Thanks, everyone.
Yep.
Bye-bye.